Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On the Ball, the summer show that we have here on Always Wolves Fan TV and podcast, where each week I'll be inviting two fans to come on and join me to discuss the week's news and general news at Wolves. So in tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the kit, the new Wolves 25-26 home kit by SUDU. We're going to be looking a little bit more deeper into the latest speculation regarding Tommy Doyle and his potential loan move out of the club, maybe permanently. We want to be talking a little bit about Molineux redevelopment as well, and the atmosphere at Molineux on match days. I'm going to asking Jack a little bit about the latest update on the fans advisory board, the general summer transfer window. And guys, if you've got any questions for us at all, save them up for the end, and you can ask myself and our guest tonight any questions like we did last week that come up during the show. And of course, as always, we love you guys to get involved with the show in the chat and support us. Super chats will be guaranteed to be displayed on the screen. As normal, I want to say a very big thank you to the wonderful people at Creation Wolf who help power our live shows on a Sunday night. They deliver the industry's latest and most advanced digital solutions. If you've got a brand, they'll take your online presence and digital capabilities to the next level, and you can get them on creationwolf.com. I also want to bring your attention to the corner of the screen because, again, we're powered by CADDY Comps tonight, which is, if you don't know what CADDY Comps are, they're the UK's biggest golf competition website. And every night you can win all the latest golf equipment from as little as 79p. They've got over 100 competitions per week. They've already given away over £8 million worth of prizes to over 10,000 lucky winners, and it's headed up by former Premier League footballer Jimmy Bullard. We'll be hearing a little bit more from him later in the show. He's the main man there. He's very handy at golf too. The link to the CADDY Comps is in the description, and in the middle of the show we'll give you a little bit more information. We're already up to over 100 watching live. Oh goodness me, I do need to remember to go live on my other channel, which I'll do in a little bit. But first of all, let me introduce our guests tonight. First of all, we have got Jogger Josh is here in the house with us tonight. Hello, Josh. How are you, mate?
Evening, Dave. I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Fantastic. Have you been doing any jogging?
So since I've last been on, I've PB'd my half marathon. I've PB'd my 5K twice.
Personal best.
So it's going well at the moment with me running. So
fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And you've been keeping an eye on all the Wolves news, I guess.
I have, keeping an eye mainly through the Discord group and Twitter, to be fair, that we've got. So I'll keep looking. But I think it's been quite quiet lately. I think with the rumours, usually we hear quite a bit, but I think it's the first time in a while where we've not heard rumours. And now the last few days I've been on about it's my brother. It looks like agents are starting to recycle old rumours. The likes of Japhet Tanganga and players like that have been mentioned this week, but we'll see what happens.
We're in the eye of the storm. You know, when the storm comes across and then there's that little lull bit in the middle and then it goes a bit crazy. 1st of July, mate. That's all I'm saying. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'm delighted to be joined tonight by the voice of reason. He's back. How you doing, Jack?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Mate, absolutely. Always love having you on the show, mate. You know, you're very well known here. You're a regular pundit along with Josh. Always the voice of reason. Always very fair. Say how you think. And, of course, you also are one of the 7 representatives, I think, on the Fans Advisory Board, which meets with senior officials of Wolverhampton Wanderers, including our esteemed chairman, Jeff Shee. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But how are you? How's your health good at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad at the minute. I think, it's a bit of a strange, because obviously working in a school, I kind of I don't start summer till 3 weeks' time when the term finishes. But obviously, the football season, we're in the middle of the summer, aren't we? So it's a bit of a crossover there. But yeah, not too bad at the minute. Looking forward to the friendly starting and getting back into it. I mean, I think the end of the last season, me and my friends all sort of said we need a break now from the football. But I think 2 or 3 weeks into the break, we were like, I want some friendlies to be announced. I want some signings. So you do kind of eventually get dragged back in, don't you? But yeah, looking forward to the season starting.
You're right. It's that line. I don't know what film it is. Just when I'm getting out, I get dragged back in again.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what movie that's from. Someone might be able to tell us. But you're quite right. It's got a bit of a lull at the moment. But say we're going to get loads of stuck in. As I say, each week we're going to have 2 different fans on the channel to come and talk about review the week's news. This week it's Jack and Josh because we have so many people that come on the channel and dedicate so much time. It's nice to give everyone a bit of a breather, apart from me, and not have to come on every other week and stuff like that. So Jack and Josh, thank you so much for taking the time this week to come on. And I think there's no better place to start this week than the actual show, not the show. This is the show, than the new Wolves 2025 SUDU kit. Hold your fire there, Jack. If you've watched the 38 fans, you would have seen young Josh and loads of other fans. We try to get a really good cross-section of old and young, of ethnicities, male and female. Josh, let me just put this up on the channel. Put the screen up there. Look, that's tonight's show, what we're going to be talking about. You can see plenty of images at the moment of the new shirt. Josh, a few days in, how are you feeling? Have you ordered?
Not ordered yet, so I'm going to give it a few days, and then cause I tend to go and have a look first in the shop to see what it's like. It's one of them with that print design, as I said on the 30-second clip I sent in. I want to make sure that replica shirt has got the pattern in it, because they did it with the 3rd shirt last year. The pro shirt had the pattern in, the replica didn't, and it was a different look all complete together when you went to see it. But I'm definitely going to go and have a look first. Probably going to have a look next weekend.
Are you on about like whether or not the pattern will be on the replica?
Yeah,
it will be.
Oh, will it? Brilliant then.
I will find out. I will be seeing in person tomorrow. Watch this space because there'll be a review coming.
So that'll save me.
Yeah. So, but I think like last year, I think on the 3rd kit, on the ultraviolet kit, it didn't. It was just very plain, and I think that's because they sell a lot less of the 3rd kit. In terms of the manufacturing, but if you looked at the 1st kit and the 2nd kit last year, the replica did tend to have the pattern, just didn't have all the bells and whistles of the. But there's only 20 quid between them. Anyway, so let's go and see. We've got another special guest that's coming on to us now to give their thoughts on the kit. Let's hear what this special person has to say.
Hi Dave, hi everyone. Just giving you my initial thoughts on the new kit. Really like it. I think the colour is spot on. Like the tribute to the history, we've always said, haven't we? Any club should be celebrating their history. It's our fantastic football club. Let's just hope we get some players and performances next season that match that wonderful new kit.
Fantastic. Well, of course, that was the voice reason. The reason why I'm playing that separate, I was just uploading the 38 Wolves fans, which has had loads of views, by the way. Watch that if you haven't seen it. So many great opinions on that. And Jack just missed it. And I thought, I can't put that to waste. So you've never seen Jack on screen twice before, but today we have. Jack, want to add anything more to that?
No, I mean, I'm not a massive one for replica kits anyway, so I'm probably not the best person to kind of comment. But I do like the design of it. I like the colour. We seem to kind of bounce between colours, don't we? And I know the club always say, we're using the same. What's the word? Pantone, is it? Yeah. So, but it always does seem a little bit different year to year. I think this one feels a little bit darker than last year's, and I quite like that tone. But I mean, for me, it's always.
Do you feel it's a bit like similar to the first year, and this kit has probably been the most well received since the first year under Adidas?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think, and again, I think it's we had a little bit of a step into the unknown last year with SUDU, didn't we? And we've talked a lot about why the club made that decision and how it looks on the books and how it looks in practical. But I think they've kind of found their feet a little bit this year, haven't they? They've kind of gone with I think you were there, Dave, when we had the big meeting with them regarding the anniversary kit, and they did seem very, very receptive to ideas around the history. Do you want to just
tell people a little bit about that, because that's quite interesting? This is the 150th anniversary kit, which is next season's kit. But do you want to just talk a little bit about that? Because we did go. I was there. You were there. I invited quite a cross section of fans to go to that. There's probably about 50, 60 fans there on the night. There's representatives from SUDU, from Wolves, the museum. Senior members of the Wolves staff were there. Do you want to just talk through a little bit about that and what they talked about the process to making a kit?
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of sat down, and our role as fans was kind of just to be kind of there as a bit of a soundboard, weren't we? And we kind of bounced some ideas around about what we'd like to see and how we'd like the club to mark that anniversary in kit form. There'll be lots of things going on as well around that anniversary, but in terms of a specific kit to mark the 150th anniversary, obviously some teams have done it quite recently as well. I think Aston Villa did it last season, but they did a one-off game, didn't they, where they wore a very old-fashioned traditional kit, whereas I think the plan is with Wolves is that we have a kit for the whole of next year that kind of marks that anniversary. So we kind of sat as a fan group and sort of said, what moments stand out in the history of your time supporting the club, in the history books, and kind of how would we mark those moments and those memories in the kit. And we talked about sort of having patterns and details within it. And they were very receptive to that kind of idea. The shade of gold kind of came up a lot, didn't it, in the discussions, and kind of what is old gold? Is it that kind of murky brown that you've seen in the Billy Wright era? Is it this kind of almost yellowy one that we've kind of had at times, or is it the sort of the orangey one? And kind of, I think the feeling was that we might need to incorporate all three shades in the kit in some way to kind of make sure everyone's happy, basically. But in terms of I'm pretty sure from what we heard from SUDU that the anniversary kit for next year will probably already have been designed, and the manufacturing will start very, very quickly into this current season, because they are working almost 12 months ahead, aren't they? In terms
actually, you're right to point that out. What people don't realise is they're 18 months ahead the design process. So they're always 18 months ahead. It starts for the 18 months time kit, and we came in, I think it was already about 4 or 5 months into the process. There was a lot of feedback, as you'd expect. There's always the issue around the colour of the kit. It's personally, I'm a massive fan of the colour kit that we have now. I think it's more vibrant. I think it pops a lot better, especially under the lights. It does my head when people say it's yellow, personally, because if you put it next to Watford or Norwich, which are actually yellow, you'll see it ain't yellow. It is brighter and it is more a lighter colour. But obviously, there's some people that prefer the more orangey. I think someone come out and says, "Oh, we like Blackpool." Well, it's never like Blackpool. They're tangerine. But and then if you go way back, the actual old goal is more like a rusty brown. So when we go about old gold, there's various different versions of it, but they were very open, I thought, to listening. And actually, if they'd have launched this kit for the 150th anniversary kit, you'd have gone, okay, they're not far off the mark, because they've got the retro feel in there and the nods to the history as well, Jack.
No, absolutely, yeah. And I think, as I've kind of mentioned, and it's a bit of a cliche, but if any club should be marking their history, it's ours. Because at all those key moments in British football, English football, we were there. Start of the Football League, start of European matches, all those kind of big events. Our football club was there. So we've kind of got those, moments and those memories where we can kind of go, look, we did this, we did that. We were the first team to do this, the first team to do that. And we should be very, very proud of that. And even though, us three on this chat and lots of people in the chat room probably weren't alive to see that, you should still be really, really proud of that. And I think if we can mark that, I think someone on the video sort of mentioned it was very very 1970s. You know, you speak to anyone that was a Wolves fan in the 1970s. What a great time to be a Wolves fan. You know, with some great players, Hibbett, Bailey, Richards, Dugan. You know, and those memories come flooding back for people when they look at that kit, and that's kind of something that is quite a modern phenomenon, isn't it? That kind of retro feeling. You know, you talk retro shirts is a huge market, isn't it? You see on YouTube and social media, people have whole sort of accounts dedicated to, you know, going to car boot sales to find retro shirts, and it's a huge market. And I think if we can kind of tap into that with some of our kits, kind of a modern kit that feels retro, then I think you're kind of onto a winner when it comes to sales. I think you really are.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, it's been launched. It went on sale. It caught me on the hop because I was I was just about to go to the theatre to watch Chicago at the Grand Theatre, actually, and then it got launched, and then it went on sale on Monday. I think it was on Saturday morning. It will be available in the club shop, of course, on Friday. Josh, are you waiting till you see it in the flesh before you make
me and my brother have always been one of the ones I want to see it in person first. I mean, to be fair, these days what you see in the photos is what you get face to face. It's not like your photos are taken back in 720p or anything like that, where the pixelations are all off. But I'll still go down and have a look, and I'll probably will buy early doors this year because the season just gone. I didn't buy it till February until the discounts were on because I wasn't too bothered about it. But
I think there is that. Sometimes if you really, really love a kit and you really like it, you'll go out and buy it. And if you're kind of like, I'm not sure, I'll just wait a bit.
Yeah, and it's like a friend of mine. He last few years he's got him off that DH gate, paid £12 for him. Although last year's one was very close on some of the DH gate ones. I saw someone bought one that was the only difference on the shirt was flipped.
Is that like an illegal site?
Yeah. And he got him off there, but he's already got him pre-ordered the one this year from the club shop because that's how much he likes it.
I think we also saw a bit of like they're already on sale in Turkey.
Yeah, someone inside the baller on TikTok he put it on, and it was in Turkey, and he's got a Man City shirt. I was, I'm a Wolves fan, I want that one, and it looked dreadful.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well that let's just talk about, and I want to talk about the goalie kit as well. I want to just bring people's attention to the design, the patterns within the shirt. Obviously, you can see there in the middle. If you look really, really closely, you can see a nod to the 1970s shirt with the leaping wolves. Yeah. You've also got a little bit of a nod to the old store shirt with a little wolf in there, and then you've got the geometric patterns that are on there. And I'll put another picture up here, which is another one that you can kind of see within the actual shirt. These sort of things are very hard. The reason I think football clubs like to do these sort of things as well, they're very hard to fake because like with it's
like a trademark, isn't it? Watermark.
That's got with the notes. They've got watermarks in it. It's very easy to spot a fake because that's very, very hard to replicate. So you can easily identify someone that's got a fake and someone that hasn't. Now, I think you're right to say and ask the question: will the markings be on the replica kit or just the pro kit? From my understanding, that a bit like last year, it'll be a little bit raised on the pro kit. Yeah. But the pattern will be on the replica kit. Now, I want to ask you, Jack, you sit on the fans advisory board. I'm sure you've discussed, the prices of kits and stuff in there at appropriate time, and brought that up. What's your view on the pricing structure? It's £60. I think it was $58 last year. £60 for the replica, £80 for the pro. What's your thought on the pricing?
Again, I'm probably not the best person, but I think you have to put it into context, don't you? I mean, from my own personal opinion, I think £60 for a football shirt is a lot of money for something that you're probably only going to wear a few times. Yeah. However, in the context of every other Premier League club and what they charge for a football shirt, I think we're probably on the side of the less expensive, aren't we?
We are the cheapest.
But so I think you give the club a small pat on the back in that sense, in that they are being the most affordable of anybody. However, I still think, but then again, I go back to kind of when I was younger, and you could kind of get a replica shirt for £30, but then you factor in inflation and all that kind of stuff, and maybe £60 isn't a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of quite sort of welded to that old model, but. That's probably not answered your question very well there, but I think £60 is a lot of money for a football shirt. However, I understand that compared to everybody else, we've probably got the pricing probably as well as we can.
Yeah, Josh, do you want to comment on your thoughts on the pricing?
Pretty much on the same as Jack. To be fair, like everybody wants the shirts to be cheaper and more relative to the people of the area that can afford it, because it's the kids. I haven't looked at the kids' prices yet, because I know £60 for adults, like Jack said, you look around the grand scheme of things. It's just interesting to know how much the kids' ones are going to be, because I know there was something like last year.
A bit cheaper. I'll try and find that out
for young kids. Like they have the full kit, and in the end, it was costing parents the price of the full price of an adult shirt for the full kit for a kid. Which I think, if that's the case again, that's extraordinary. That is, it's
I can tell
the kids
you
are going to be the ones that are going to wear the socks and shorts at football and stuff, aren't they? So
the
they're going to get dirty. They're going to get ripped.
The junior shirt's £45, so it's like 25% less than an adult one.
That's steep for a kid shirt, Arda.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, right? The way I look at it is, I'll go and buy a T-shirt like this, or people will go and buy a T-shirt from a shop or a shirt. You'll pay easily 60 quid, 40 quid, 50. How much was that?
That was about, it was Cheshire Oaks. It was 80 down to 60. So there you go.
So you paid 80 to 60 pounds for a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Now, personally, if you buy like a T-shirt, you might wear that T-shirt 3 times a year. You wear your football top virtually every single game that you go to. So you're going to get so much more wear out of it than you would say something like this. So when people go, oh, that's really expensive, I don't think in the context of clothing that it actually is. And I think you have to give the club a lot of credit, because they are the cheapest. You look at some of them, they're way more expensive, but I do think it's very difficult for a family if they've got like a couple of kids and they want to buy things. I think it would be really, really good if they did a family deal. Whereas if they buy like 2 kids' shirts and an adult shirt, they would get maybe a 30% on it, to make it more affordable. And I think that would be something that would be really good to look at. Obviously, down the line, they have discounts and stuff and a lot of people go, oh, they're not selling these very well because they've got a discount. All of these discounts, all of the offers are pre-planned at the start of the season.
They're still making money on them.
They're not just, we're not selling any, let's do this. They're all pre-planned throughout the entire season. But I personally, I quite think that we are the cheapest shirt. And the pro shirt, you've got to commend them for that. The quality, we've not seen the quality of this year's kit because we haven't seen one in the flesh yet, but they were okay last year. And when you actually factor in, like you say, your T-shirt there was 60 quid that you're just wearing tonight, in the context of clothing, it's actually probably fair. I think it's fairly priced.
Yeah. But on about the discounts, Dave, I popped into Nike in Merrill yesterday. Lo and behold, last season's Chelsea shirts and our shirts have gone down to what, 15 quid at the end of the season?
And they do at the end of the season, because it's like with everything. If you look at a shop and they've got winter clothing, and then you're coming into summer, they're not going to be selling winter clothing at full price because it's end of line, so they will reduce it down.
As ours went down to 10 quid at the end of the season, went in Nike in Merrill yesterday, the Chelsea home shirt from last year was £59.
Yeah, I know.
That's
at the end of the season.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
And I think that's the context that people need to understand. I guess that some people, can't afford to buy the shirts, or that they feel like it's a bit of a stretch, and I get that. But you've still got to buy clothing from wherever, so like you have to put it into context. And I think it's very easy to batter the club constantly with things. But like when you're coming out and you're a Premier League team and you've got the cheapest kit and the quality's pretty good, you sometimes just have to go, do you know what? Fair play for that. But there's always going to be some that are not going to be happy, because it's the old saying, isn't it? I think it was Churchill that says, you can please all of the people some of the time, some of the people all the time, but never everyone all of the time. So yeah, but each their own. No one has to buy the kits, and that's the choice. I want to ask your opinions as well, because this has been gone down really well, Jack. The goalie's top.
I like the goalkeeper's top. I kind of think, you know, black is a good colour for a goalkeeper's top again, isn't it? I mean, although they did have an issue, I think, with the women's team last year, didn't they? When they were trying to wear the black away kit, but they were clashing with the officials, the referee and the assistants. But that shouldn't be an issue in the Premier League, I wouldn't have thought, because obviously the Premier League referees wear all kinds of different colours on their shirts, don't they? But yeah, no, I like it, and I think Jose Sarr liked it as well, didn't he? I saw a little clip of him sort of saying it's his favourite goalkeeper top he's ever had. So, you know, that's quite nice. But yeah, you know, I think the goalkeeper tops last year, I think, was it the third kit, which was kind of like the inverted purple one. That was quite nice as well. I saw a lot of people bought that rather than the outfield kit, if you like. So I think again, there's a market there, isn't there? I mean, if you go back to when I was a kid, sort of late 90s. No one wanted a goalkeeper shirt, but now it's a market in itself, isn't it? You know, and it'll be the same when the away kit comes out. You know, not many people used to buy an away kit, but now it's a market in itself, isn't it? And the same with the third kit as well, which, you know, again, there's an argument there, isn't it? Do we need a third kit? Probably not. However, if there's a commercial opportunity there, why would you not take it? So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what they do with those as well.
Yeah, no, I'm quite looking forward to that. I think Emma, the producer, made me laugh because she said, I can understand why Jose Sarr is saying this is the best kit I've ever had, because normally they put him in garish, you know, bright green, purple, pink, whatever, and he's got a really classy black thingy. So I can understand why Jose Sarr is thinking. The big question is, will Jose Sarr be wearing it next summer? Let's move on now to, before we get into the summer business, let's just talk a little bit about Tommy Doyle. Anyone who watches this channel will know that my dad absolutely loves Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle sent him a shirt, signed shirt, really top bloke, really top family, not getting a lot of game time, said to be interest from Wrexham, Sunderland and Birmingham City. Lots of reports in the last few days, Josh, that it looks as if he might be going and signing a loan deal with Birmingham City Blues. What are your thoughts on Tommy?
It's a bit of a shame that he can't get the game time, but look at the two players he's got to try and get in front of. That's the big talking point, isn't it, really? He's got to get in front of Gomez and Andre, who at the start of the season were both, but then come since Vitor's come in, them two have just flourished. He can't get game time, and you've got to look at what Tommy did against Brighton on it 4 against 1, and he does that, and he still can't get in the team. It's a real shame. Blues does seem like the move that's coming through, and it does kind of make sense because they've just had a little one. So it means they can stay in the area. I suppose if there was a move up Manchester where they can move back up to family that was on the cards, they'd have done that. But with Blues being where they are, to the close vicinity of where we are, that move makes complete sense with the situation he's in and the fact they can probably live where they live now.
Yeah, well, that's a very, very good point. Jack, what's your thoughts on that move for Tommy? Personally, I think he's too good for the Championship, and I thought maybe you go to Sunderland. But like, if he's not getting the options to move there, Birmingham seems to be I mean, we're talking about owners. Birmingham seem to be a club with a plan. Very transparent owners about talking about what they want to do. Birmingham fans, Blue Noses, are very excited. And we're going to talk about Molineux redevelopment, and we can reference back to stuff that's happening at Villa Park, at Liverpool, Old Trafford, Birmingham, which we're going to come on to. But a move to Blues in the Championship, newly promoted. He's guaranteed game time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes particularly when you're a youngish player like Tommy is. What is he, 22, 23?
24, I think he is now.
24. So you'd probably say, right, at this point in my career, do I want to be playing 10 minutes every other week in the Premier League or 90 minutes every week in the Championship? In terms of my development, 90 minutes in the Championship, because I'm still young enough that if I do really well in the Championship, either I'll get promoted with the club I'm in and get back into the Premier League that way, or someone else will come and take a punt on me and take me there via the transfer market. So I don't think Tommy Doyle loses out in any way, shape or form with that move. I think, like Josh says, I think it's unfortunate that I think he's a good player, but I think he's not a Vitor player.
I think Vitor sees him more as a 10 than an 8.
Yeah, he's not mobile enough, I don't think, to play in Vitor's centre mid. I mean, you think about our best performances under Vitor, when we won those 6 games in a row, for example, Andre and Gomez were winning a tackle and then they were sprinting 40 yards and winning another one and then dropping 20 yards and then push. Doyle can't do that. He's a very good footballer. He'll sit there and he'll play the passes all day long and he'll recycle the possession. And if you put someone progressive and athletic next to him, absolutely fine. But I think in a midfield where he needs to be that aggressive, mobile person as well, I think he's a little bit not quite there yet. I mean, he might get there, like you say, as he develops. But certainly I think probably a loan with an option would suit us as well. Because, as great as Vitor's done, and I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that he's not going to be. But if there was to be a change of manager at some point in the next 18 months, the person that comes in might look at and go, why have you loaned him out? He's perfect for how I want to play. So it might be that there is a route back at some point. But certainly while Vitor's the manager, I don't see Tommy Doyle would be starting very many games for us in the Premier League. So I think for his career and his progression, I think it's a great move, and I think Josh has hit the nail on the head. Where he hasn't got to move and relocate at the minute, where he's just got a newborn, I think is absolutely ideal.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. I've got a bit of a fan here and it's so hot in it. No, listen, I think though, the only thing that surprised me, because he played in the Championship with Sheffield United, he's done that, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and obviously he's 2 or 3 years down the line, he's back in the Championship again. And is he going to be one of these players that are really good in the Championship and not quite seen? I mean, if you look at that game against Brighton and Hove Albion last year when we were 2-0 down and he had that 4-on-1, he picked the ball up. The thing that I like about Tommy, he did it, and again, a very similar situation against Tottenham a couple of years back when we scored 2 late goals and he's always looking for a forward pass, always. And I sometimes wonder whether we have someone in our team that is as quick and as sharp to look for that forward pass to get someone in, that sort of pass down the line. He did it against Man United as well. If you look, he won at home against Man United when we were 1-0 up. We won the ball, straight away passes the ball up, and we've got the players with pace to break. And I looked that Tommy did that. Obviously, looks as if he's not going to get his opportunity with Wolves. He needs to play, like you say. Birmingham will probably come and talk to him and say, look, you're going to be guaranteed to play football. You're going to be our main man. You're going to be pulling the strings. And of course, Birmingham will probably be an exciting project with the owners that they've got in, the ambition that they've got. And he might think, well, like what you say, I could go there, become the main man, be part of this club, and get back to the Premier League with the ambitions. And they've obviously got this idea of a big stadium. So I mean, I'm sure we'll hear some news.
I think just on what you were saying there, Dave, about someone to play those progressive passes. I think in the way that Vitor wants to play, that's probably Bellegarde's role, to kind of be sort of a bit more advanced than Andre and Gomez and sort of break the lines with those passes. Yeah. I mean, I think Bellegarde got 7 assists last year, which is a great output for that position. Whereas I don't think if Doyle played every week, he'd get that many assists, if I'm not being too harsh. But, and also you've got then the conundrum about Munetsi as well, haven't you? How do you kind of get, more of an output from him? I mean, that goal he scored against Brentford on the last day was fantastic. But then you think of some of the easier chances that he missed in earlier games, and there's some issues there for Vitor to solve, aren't there? But and you've got Lopez, haven't we, as well? That I think a lot of people have sort of said, oh, he's one for the future. But I think if you're paying that kind of money for him, I think we need an impact this season as well.
Absolutely. We're gonna have a little bit of a commercial break and come back with more on the summer transfer window. But first of all, let's hear from Jimmy Bullard from Caddy Shack about the offer that he's got. So here's Jimmy Bullard.
You didn't know my nickname was the Beaver, did you? There's nothing worse than playing with a driver you've just won and you keep the sticker on. Take the stickers off. Win all the latest golf equipment here at Caddy comes every night for as little as 79p. That was leathered, that was.
So yeah, that's Caddy Cop. This is the website that you can see here. They have lots of competitions that you can enter for not a lot of money. Some of them you don't even have to pay to enter, like this one on the outside here. It's actually nothing to enter, and you can win this driver. You can also win some cash prizes on there. Last week they were giving around a Land Rover. So the link to this is in the description below. As I say, they have over 100 competitions per week. They've given away over £8 million worth of prizes and 10,000 lucky winners. The link to this is in the description below. So get on it, and I hope some of you win. I know quite a few people have already got involved with that. Go on, Josh.
I'll be having a go, definitely.
You love your golf, don't you?
Yeah. I watch a lot, and that's where it's come from, I think. And he goes on, it's Tubes Off Soccer AM. It's him and his brother's golf channel on YouTube. But Jimmy goes on it quite a lot, and he's part of the show now, really. And he's awesome watch. The guests they get on are really good.
They are, and if you like your golf, there's loads and loads of prizes on there. So yeah, the link's in the description below. Get on that, and Josh, you'll have to let me know how you get on.
Yeah,
with it. Summer transfer window, guys. Let's go with you first, Jack. Players gone out, of course. Sarabia, Rain Ain't Nouri, looks like Tommy Doyle, Mateus Cunha. Players coming in. Lopez has come in. Young 21-year-old Spaniard forward. Very, very highly prospect, but of course very inexperienced. How are you feeling about the transfer window at this point in time? And of course, the changes with sporting director Matt Hobbs going and Domenico Tetti coming in as well as technical director, and the reshoot. What do you think that says?
I think that shows that there's a recognition that the model that they were using had its limitations and probably wasn't going to take the club any further forward than we were. I mean, I've not got the exact figures, but I think in the last sort of 4 years, we've finished 10th, 12th, 14th, 16th. So if we'd have followed that model next year, that's 18th, and that's no good at all, is it? So that something had to change. Obviously, they've now got a manager in place that everybody believes in and everybody thinks is the right person for the job. And so, I compare the situation a little bit to Villa and Emery. Now, they've built their entire football club basically around him. All the key boardroom appointments at Villa are Emery's people.
Yep.
So, and it feels a little bit like that with Vitor and Tetti, because if you're being brutally honest, if you read Tetti's CV and his career, he shouldn't be getting a Premier League job as a sporting director or a technical director, but it's that connection to Vitor.
He was technical director at Sampdoria, and I know Sampdoria have gone downhill the last 3 years, but it wasn't on his watch. It's after he's left, it all fell apart.
Yeah, but I think the point is he's not an outstanding candidate, is he? No. He's not someone that you'd be going, let's go and get that guy. But I think it's that connection to Vitor that's kind of, we're now sort of more aligned, sort of centrally down the club, if you like. So you've got Vitor, Tetti, and then obviously the guys at the top, Shi and those kind of guys. But I think it's exciting. I think, again, like I said, that model, it's admirable to try and follow a sell to buy and self-sustainable. I think every football supporter should want their football club to be self-sustainable, because the amount of money that clubs are throwing around is ridiculous, and it's probably not going to last much longer, is it really? I mean, you can already see with some of the stuff going on with Leicester this week, and sort of their bad finances are kind of coming home to roost. But this is the Premier League, isn't it? And if you don't spend money, and if you don't spend lots of money, you'll get caught out eventually. And I think they've realised perhaps that the model that we were trying to do, being quite frugal, being quite canny in the market, is great, and it earns you a lot of plaudits on social media and on podcasts and things, but it doesn't bear results on the pitch necessarily. So you need a model where you get those results on the pitch. And I think they've kind of put their eggs in Vitor's basket and gone, he's the guy who's going to lead this football club forward. Very much the way that Nuno did. He's a leader, a figurehead, he's an inspirational, character at the helm. Let's kind of build around him and let him shape the future of the club more so than the guys in the boardroom, if you like.
No, absolutely. Josh, your take?
But back in what Jack says there, I think that what they've done bringing the football director in, it's sort of, he's in line with what Villa did with Monchi. They brought him in as football director because he was football director whilst Emery was at Sevilla. Then when Emery left, Monchi brought Lopetegui in. When Sevilla were getting rid of Lopetegui, Monchi was staunch on him staying. But the board wanted him out. And the second Monchi got a chance to be working back with Emery again, he took it. And it was through Emery's recommendation that he went to the Villa as football director. So I think doing the same sort of thing we've done there, someone he's worked with before, someone that he knows. And then, like you said, you got that chain of the line going up on who it's all going through. At the end of the day, the book still stops with Jeff. So that one's still up in the air to see what's going to happen going forward. But hopefully they've learned. That's a big hopefully that they've learned. Because it's happened twice in 3 years now. Exactly the same mirror image the seasons have been. 9 points, 10 points, then finishing on 43, both the same seasons, bringing in a new manager after the Christmas. So hopefully they've learned and hopefully this new format will work and Jeff can get on with the two lads below him.
Absolutely. I mean, Jack, you've met Jeff a few times because of the fan advisory board. How does he come across to you? Because you've literally sat across a table talking to Jeff as part of the fan advisory board and also the senior managers. Does he come across as someone that listens, or does he come across as someone that's very autocratic, but actually over time starts to think, well, maybe? And then is he quite strong, or is he flexible? How would you describe?
I mean, I think it kind of varies on the issue, really. I mean, for example, when we had the discussion with him around VAR and what eventually led to the club putting the motion forward, that was very much him listening to us and kind of taking on board. Although he agreed and his view matched what we'd said about it not being a great addition to the game and it causing issues, he was very much keen to kind of get our feedback and kind of get a fan's perspective. Whereas other things, he's very much kind of, no. I mean, I see all the figures. I see everything that goes on. This is how it has to be. So it varies on the issue. What I will say is, without speaking kind of out, I think the last time we sat with him was kind of just after the season had finished. And it was noticeable that he was far more reflective than he has been in the past.
Okay.
He was far more sort of, we got this wrong. We didn't do this properly. We didn't, we perhaps put our money in the wrong area. We didn't invest. Did he use those sort of words in the meeting? Like actually putting his hand up and saying, maybe we got that wrong, sort of thing? Yeah, it was along the lines of kind of last summer when we had O'Neill in charge and they underestimated the investment that was needed, basically. And particularly they put probably too much faith in O'Neill being able to build a squad. I think that was kind of the feeling that I got from listening to them, was that they trusted O'Neill to kind of know what was needed to take the club forward, and in hindsight, he didn't. And it unravelled very, very quickly, didn't it? And we saw that kind of at Everton, didn't we, in that December where there was, there was all sorts going on. But so I think ultimately, as much as we talk about Jeff a lot, he wants the same as what we do. He wants Wolves to be successful because that's his job, isn't it? So he would have looked at the last 4 years and he looked at, like Josh just said, we've just had to do the same thing we did with Lopetegui a couple of years ago. We've had to change manager mid-season and spend a load of money in January to kind of get out of the mess. That can't keep happening. So we need to change something. And I think they've done that in terms of the structure, because I don't want to say they're fallen into Vitor because, you know, I think he was someone that they looked at. But and certainly once Mendes was kind of involved, that was a deal that could be done. But I think they've kind of realised that they've got something potentially quite special here with Vitor, particularly with that connection he's made with the fans. And so if you allow Vitor to be the driving force behind recruitment and the philosophy within the club, I mean, I don't know if you heard his interview he did with the Wolves podcast, but I think it was either before that or after that, he went straight and he did a 3-hour coaching course with the academy coaches.
Yeah.
So that Vitor ball, if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it, is kind of going to be embedded right the way through the club. And that will also then link into your recruitment and different bits and pieces. So I think they've kind of almost inverted it a little bit and gone, well, the model is the coach comes in and coaches the team on the training ground. We'll do signings, we'll do medical, we'll do academy, we'll do all this, that and the other. And he just concentrates on the team. But that's not been working for the last 2, 3, 4 years. So now you need to kind of do something different. And what you can do differently is you can say, actually, he's a really good manager. So if we let him run recruitment and academy and have an input on that and have an input
and put a team around him that enables him to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Then that's potentially a route to success, isn't it? Because it was clear that the model we were following was eventually going to catch up with us, because it's threatened to last year. It threatened to a couple of years ago. You know, and you look at, you know, the 3 teams that came up last year were pretty rancid, weren't they? So we'd have stayed up comfortably in the end anyway, I think. But, you know, you might not get so lucky this year.
They're going to be a lot tougher.
You know, I think Sunderland have spent quite a bit of money already, haven't they, for example, on a couple of midfielders.
I think Leeds will be the ones to watch, I really, with their backing and the structure they've got now with Red Bull. I think they're the team that will be well out of it. I don't think they'll struggle at all.
Yeah, you're not going to have 3 terrible teams this year.
No.
The thing with Sunderland, a bit like when Forest came up, they might throw a lot of money at it. And Ipswich spent over 100 million, but like they had a lot of players on loan. They've lost Jude Bellingham as well, so it's a lot to replace. So, and they're a bit behind everyone else. I think Sunderland will potentially be the one that's going to be the weak link. You never know, do you? You never know. Josh, on what Jack said, and also the summer window at this point in time, where are you at with it? Are you comfortable? Are you relaxed, or are you a bit nervous?
Comfortable at the moment for now. It's still early doors. So the transfer window, they had that 10-day window before the Club World Cup, which we weren't going to sign anybody because that was just the Club World Cup. I've not. For me, it's been one of the quietest rumours since the season's finished for a long time. I know we usually keep it quiet, but by now you've heard of about 10 players that are linked.
There's no players linked. They keep doing the rounds.
Yeah, I've not seen as much as I usually say. The main one I've seen yesterday was that Japhet Tanganga. But like I said to my brother this morning, that's just an agent strumming up an old story again, I think. So we looked at him the other year. I know there's been that link with the Sunderland right back. And whether that'll go ahead, because I think he does want to go. So we'll see what happens. So so I'm not too worried at the moment. Well, I'm not worried at all, to be fair. It's still early doors. Window's not long open again. The only one that I've seen people mention it is the Semedo situation.
What's your take on that, Josh? Semedo?
It's annoying because I've even when he signed, I've always liked him. I've had time for him. I know people at that first season didn't really like him. It's just a tad annoying when a player that I like, the offer's there on the table. Marseille couldn't match it. Benfica couldn't. I think he's holding for Benfica to come back so he can go back home. That's my thinking, because if he had the option now to stay with us, he'd take it. I genuinely think he's waiting for a call. It's one of two options. He's either waiting for a big payout in Saudi, or he does want to go back home and he wants to end up back at Benfica because the interest was there initially.
I think that's a good point. I think to me, because he has got a really good, strong offer on the table from Wolves. He's, be one of the highest players. He'd be captain. It's 31 years of old. It's reportedly a 4-year contract as well. That's a big commitment. Yeah. Wolves can afford to do, because if he goes, they're going to have to spend the money to bring someone in. Jack, how long can Wolves sit on this and wait? I would say that they've been quite comfortable with it up to now, because he's been involved with the Nations League. Obviously, he's been spending time with his family. but the clock is starting to tick down to a point where, you know, we need to kind of know. I don't think, I've read reports they're not going to take the offer off the table for him because they still want him to sign, but they're really starting to now look at these other options. Is that the feeling that you're getting?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what Josh said there, you know, we don't necessarily know what's going on, but Nelson and his agent certainly will. They'll have been tipped the wink by a Benfica, whoever, to say, listen, we can't get the contract on the table yet, but if you hold out for 2 weeks, new financial year comes round, we might sell someone for big money, and then the wage we can. So I reckon that's probably what's going on. Like Josh said, I think he knows where he's going to go, but that offer isn't available right now. You know, if Nelson's first choice was to stay at Wolves, I think that deal would have been signed and it'd have all been announced by now. That's my gut feeling. So I think he's waiting.
We were hoping it was going to be announced with the kit on, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, so there's been ample opportunity, hasn't there, for him to end the speculation and put his name on the contract to say, I'm staying and you know, I'm staying as captain and this, that, and the other, and I'm happy to be here. You know, I respect what Wolves are saying by saying we'll keep that offer open, but is there a point where, I don't know, maybe we think actually he'd have signed it by now? So, you know, maybe we have to look at alternatives and, you know, say thanks, but you know, clearly, you know, you don't want to be here because you'd have signed the contract by now. So, I don't know. It like Josh said, it's a shame because I was always quite a big critic of Semedo's, but last year in particular, I think he had a very solid year, and I think we would need to invest quite a lot of money to replace him.
Yeah, especially so both wing backs.
Yeah, and you know, and I think particularly that's going to be key in Vitor's system, like we were saying earlier, isn't it? Those wing back positions, because they provide you width. So it's going to be interesting how they kind of deal with that, really. But yeah, I think from my point of view, I think if he wanted to stay, I think that would have happened by now. So my guess would be that he's been told by another club, we want to sign you, but we haven't got the finances in place at the minute. So just hold fire. Then either we'll sell a player or the new financial year will tick round and then we can get that offer over to you and you can sign it then. So that would be my gut feeling about what's going on. And it sounds quite underhanded, but yeah, that's just football, unfortunately.
No, it is football. People need to understand that, and like, but yeah. I do think the clock is ticking. And firstly, another fortnight down the line, we need to know that they need to know because you know pre-season. I think they start checking back in for pre-season the week after next. The ones that haven't been involved in their internationals and stuff like that. Jack, just your thoughts on the summer window. Are you comfortable? Are you? Where are you at with it? Because we brought, you know, a lot gone out, one player coming in. What's your expectations?
Yeah, I think it's still very early, isn't it? I think, you know, you get to sort of the start of pre-season, you'd like bodies in so they can acclimatise and get to know the team and stuff like that. I think we saw that last year with Larson. He came in quite early and he kind of hit the ground running, didn't he? He got a couple of early goals in the season, whereas Andre came in on deadline day in August and took a little bit longer to settle. So there is anecdotal evidence to say get your players through the door early if you can. There is a benefit there in terms of they get pre-season with the coach and their new teammates. But, you know, there's an element where we're not top of the food chain. So we can't just go out and go, we'll have that player, and that player, and we'll pay you X, Y, Z a week. Come here, sign this contract and hold this shirt up and done. We have to kind of wait for other clubs to do their business and then the players we want become available. Yeah. You know, and also, you know, we're not going to be people's first choice necessarily. And I know I don't like saying that, but like we've just been talking about with Nelson, there's probably players that we've approached and they're thinking, I'd rather go to a Newcastle or a Villa. But if they don't come in for me, then absolutely I'll go to Wolves. But I'm not going to commit to Wolves just yet in case someone else comes in the meantime. So we might just have to be a little bit patient at times with players. Listen, I've got no doubt that we've got players identified and you know, on the recruitment team and Vitor and Teti will have got players lined up, etc. But, you know, transfers aren't, you know, we'll have played Football Manager and things like that where it's just clicking buttons and players come and join. It's not like that. There's a lot of moving parts and sometimes it's just a case that you need things to sort of fall into place to get a deal done, and it might be that those things haven't happened yet. I think this year's been complicated because you've got the Club World Cup as well, so you've got players have perhaps gone there, and then obviously there's been internationals as well. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not kind of worried
There's a
at the
couple
minute.
of Brazilians that we're linked with that are sort of involved with a couple of the Brazilian teams as well. The other thing that, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, Wolves moved their financial year back from the end of May to the end of June. The thinking on that, I think, was because they wanted to make sure that they hit the accountancy period. When they put the accounts in for last year, they were knowing that there was going to be some money coming into the accounts, and gave themselves a little bit of extra time, i.e. the sale of Cunha and people like that, to bring that money into what effectively will be the end of this year's accounting period from last season. When the end of June's out the way and we start on the 1st of July, we're in a completely set of different accounting period. And I think that's why there hasn't been too much happening. I think that that's the big thing. And I think probably the first 2 or 3 weeks of July, I would expect that a lot more things will start to happen in terms of incoming players, because we have got the financial chasm compared to previous seasons. I think, Jack, me and you spoke a couple of years ago, and I remember you saying about the FAB, and you saying, Dave, we're not going to really be able to see Wolves being able to push the boat out a lot until the 25-26 season, which is, funnily enough, now. And we talked about that 18 months ago. Now we're at the 25-26 season. The 60 million dropped off from 3 years ago. We've got money in the bank from the sales of Ryan Aitnuri, Cunha and stuff. There's a lot more clear blue water. And I think this is why I'm quite a lot more positive, because of the changes in the upper structure, the Vitor becoming in the lead, the move back to bring in Mendes a lot more and Valdir more involved, the fact that we have a bit more money, and the fact that we've got the 150th anniversary coming up in the season after next. Everything seems to align to me to be pointing towards they're putting all their pieces into place, ready to go bang. And I've been told behind the scenes that there are targets lined up, and they know who they are. Whether if that actually happens, I don't know. But you and Josh get that kind of feel, that vibe? It's all kind of lining up as well.
I'm going to pull up something that Sutty said in the chat as well. You've got the World Cup coming up as well, and the Chinese are going to want to impress on that as well. And as Sutty's been putting that a few times, and I think, like I said, you have the 2 seasons where you've had the mistakes. That's been mirror image. So the 150 years coming up, they're thinking to themselves, they've got to get this right now. They've got to get it right, because if they want to do something with the 150 years, it can't be in the Championship. It's got to be in the Premier League, and they've got to get it right.
Absolutely. Jack?
Yeah, no, I think just I don't want to kind of drag it into an accountancy lecture, but this is the last year of PSR as well. So from next summer, it's replaced with something called squad cost ratio, where you can only spend, I think it's 85% of your income on your squad, basically transfer fees and wages, etc.
That's correct. Unless you're in Europe, it's 70%.
Yeah. So obviously, again, there'll be a lot of teams sort of manoeuvring their accounts, and there might be 1 or 2 slightly iffy deals going on, I think, with other clubs this summer to try and get their boats in order, if you like, and things like that. But I think from our club's perspective, from what we've been told in meetings, that the club are quite comfortable that they'll meet the requirements for squad cost ratio. So again, that kind of removes that obstacle. We're not sort of sitting there thinking, crikey, in 12 months' time we've got to have got rid of XYZ off the books. I think we're in a good position now if we recruit well and recruit smartly. So I think other clubs,
that squad ratio thing's been shadowed this year, hasn't it, behind the scenes?
Yeah. And we passed when we did our shadow sort of internal things. It went slightly into the red zone in January when we spent some money and brought in a couple of players. But obviously, you've since lost Sarabia's wages, Dawson's wages, Cunha and Aitnuri's wages have gone off the books. Semedo's wages will potentially be going off the books as well. So that will drag them back into the green. And I'd imagine the players that we're signing, like for Lopez, won't be on those kind of wages. So I think the wage structure will be a lot more manageable in terms of getting into that green zone. Because I think the key point is, and again, this is why it hasn't come in yet, is because the other Premier League clubs are dragging their feet over it, is that if you don't pass the squad cost ratio, it's points deductions. It's not fines or embargoes, it's points deductions. So,
that's why it's not kicked in for this season.
And it's a sliding scale based on how far foul of the line you fall. So if you miss the mark by 1%, it's a couple of points. If you miss it by 10%, it's a lot more. So, and a lot of clubs are kind of, arguing that, why should we? But I think the plan is that it comes in from next year. So this is kind of the last year where we have to, talk about 3-year rolling accounting periods and PSR and etc. So,
there's the Andy Pearce squad cost ratio for 40 clubs, the so-called big sisters that play. It does seem like that sometimes, doesn't it?
It does, but again, I think what we have to kind of remember is that those clubs dwarf us in terms of income. So 80% of our income and 80% of their income is completely different.
Yeah.
So we are sort of playing by the same rules, if you like, but they've got far more resources to,
and that's what people
to make
do
that 80%.
People do seem to forget. We are, we're a big club. We are a big club. We've got a great fan base. We've got global fans. But like when it dwarfs in comparison with the likes of United and Liverpool, and the merchandise and the stuff that they can sell, and it's just like I've said many, many times, it's like if this was a Manchester United channel, it'd probably be, we're on 36,000. It would probably be more like 200,000. But it's because that's the side of the fan base, and we do appreciate every single one of you that does hit that subscribe button. So thank you very much. Let's move now on to the next subject, which is Molineux Stadium. Now, again, Josh, I'm going to come on to Jack, but let's hear your thoughts on Molineux Stadium, mate. Where do you stand?
South Bank.
So you're in the South Bank. I hear a lot of people in the, especially in the not in the Billy Wright, in the Steve Ball, that haven't got a lot of leg room.
Yeah.
The corporate side of the Steve Bull as well, it's behind the glass. Like, in the corporate side, they can come out. They're stuck behind watching it behind the glass. The toilets aren't that great. Where are you with Molineux development? Because it seems to me it's been like, when is that? You look at Birmingham. Yeah. They've got a plan for this new sports complex. Villa are extending. Liverpool are extending. Palace are looking at expanding. Man United are building a large tent, next to Old Trafford. But we still wait to hear for Wolves. I mean, it's parts of the stadium for me aren't really fit for purpose, especially the Steve Bull. What's your take on it? And would you be receptive to building a new stadium by the M54 and leaving Molineux, or do you think Molineux just, if they need to reduce the capacity for a couple of years to do something? Where are you with that?
Something's got to be done at some point. Like I said, Steve Bull's crumbling down. Billy Wright, you've heard fans saying in there that it's too tight in there as well now. The South Bank at half time, we've gone in about 41, 42 minutes before now to even get served. And it's since then, I know I'll put my hands up and say I was one of them. We needed better drinks in there, in the ground itself. Since they've put those beer pools in, and it's not the staff, they're trying hard. They're also told as well they can't pour loads and then start dishing them out, which is what we're all saying. Go to any other away game, the drinks are all pre-poured. They've obviously been told not to do it at the Molineux. Pour it there and then, and it takes ages because they can't get the gas supply for it properly. It takes too slow, and we're waiting. Like, it's well into the second half by the time we've actually got served.
And that's not great.
And the room in there. The
And
room.
they're losing. Surely they're going to be losing revenue for that as well.
I've seen it no end of times. Even like lads who I've been with, I've grabbed my bottles and I've looked at them and I've gone, I've not paid, and the staff have just gone, don't matter, carry on. You've waited long enough. I'm like, club are losing out there on a lot of the thousands easily a week lost out on drinks not being paid for and food not being paid for in the South Bank.
That's really interesting.
It's that Josh, busy.
I'd like to take that to the match day experience group.
The South Bank this season, me and my friend and me used to go down regularly, and it's ridiculous now.
Because Jack's on the match day experience group as well. Because that's not a great experience, especially if you've waited and then you're walking off and they're just going, "Oh, you don't need to pay." It's really not great at all.
It's not every week, but you see it happen because the amount of people that are moaning, and you can't moan at the staff either because at the end, like I said, go to every other away game. There's 12 points poured, they're ready, and they'll go, right, what do you want, boom, boom. Someone's there pouring them again, and they're loaded there, ready. And at the Molineux, it's pour as you serve. And it's with this, since these pools have gone in, it's slowed everything right down. If they have bottles, like they do at Anfield away, £3.50, boom, there's your bottle, everyone's moved. And it's a lot quicker.
Jack, you're nodding along to that. That's quite enlightening, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, we've kind of got to separate it all, almost, haven't we? I think from a match day experience point of view, we could be doing a lot better. The redevelopment is kind of almost a separate issue, isn't it? But it links in quite nicely, because ultimately, I think as a football club, we're kind of maxed out, aren't we? We're kind of getting every penny we can from Molineux to an extent, although I take what Josh just said there, where we are losing out on certain things because of separate issues almost. To kind of kick on and to get that bigger revenue, like we were just talking about with the squad cost ratio, if we want that 80% to be a bigger figure, then redeveloping the stadium is probably the best way to do it. How you do that, I think the Steve Bull would naturally be the first one that would be redeveloped, because it's the oldest stand, and obviously there's without kind of getting cynical, there's a big corporate opportunity, isn't there? I think, like you've just touched on there, the corporate experience in there isn't great.
Fact, I think the corporate experience is poor, and the general fan experience is poor, because if you've got like long legs, you're like this apparently, and like the concourses are really small. People get into the toilets. You're a Premier League football club, and you should be providing a Premier experience in this day and age. And what frustrates me a little bit is the kit. They've listened on the kit, and that looks good. The season ticket prices have frozen, but they did go up 17%. So well, they should. And I think they've realised, because obviously general sale tickets have been going to general sale again. But like, if you've got a great experience for someone to come to, and the pricing structure's good, and it's comfortable, and it's entertaining, and you can access the toilets, and it's easy enough to go and buy some food and drink and stuff like that, everyone wins. The club makes more revenue off, what do they call it? Anterior sales and stuff like that.
Ancillary sales, Ancillary
sales.
Yeah.
And it's like
I'll give you a very quick example, Dave, and this is a much bigger scale. But when Tottenham redeveloped White Hart Lane, at their previous reincarnation of White Hart Lane, the spend per fan per head on food and beverage was £1.50 per fan. At the new stadium, it's £21 per fan. So not only have you got more fans in the stadium because it's bigger, they're spending more money as well, and so your revenue increases massively. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go and suddenly all start spending 20 quid a game on food, because it's Wolverhampton, it's different. But there's a lot more that could be done to it. Not just increase the match day experience from almost a moral point of view, if you like, and give people an experience they deserve, but also to increase that opportunity to bring revenue in. There's almost two threads there, isn't there? We need to improve the stadium because the fans deserve better, and we need to improve the stadium because we need to make more revenue. And I think both kind of threads kind of pull and tie together at the end.
And Wolves' revenue has kind of plateaued as well. Joey says the UA supported below the corporate section. Now, Jack, I'm just going to go on to this, because I mentioned this to you the other day. Someone mentioned to me that there was planning works to do something with either I think the Steve Bull, and I think one of the plans would be to move the away supporters into a section rather than across the bottom. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but I think there's a Premier League directive that they've got to improve the away stadium, the away changing room, to make it bigger. And I've heard also reports that they're thinking about doing a tunnel club like they do at Man City and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've heard in that or not? Or is there plans, or is it just a little, it's just, there is, but it's just still 2 or 3 years away?
Yeah, I think on the sort of the change room, that'll be Premier League driven rather than club driven. That'll be Premier League regulations saying, these millionaire footballers, they need space to plug their hairdryer in and charge their iPods and stuff like that. So you've got to make bigger changing rooms for them and stuff. That won't be Wolves saying, let's give the away team a bigger dressing room. In terms of like the Steve Bull, I think, how it works at Villa is kind of what they were looking at, where you've kind of got the away fans split across lower tier and upper tier.
Yeah.
So, but again, they'd have to relocate some season ticket holders, and there'd need to be a reconfiguration in terms of like, a separation, because, a lot of clubs just use kind of netting, don't they? But that's sometimes that's probably not enough. So, but I think that would probably be more likely when there was a redevelopment happen. That would be the end result, that the away fans would kind of be in a section rather than spread across the bottom. Because I think when you speak to away fans, they don't like being spread across the bottom because the noise doesn't kind of generate very well. But if you speak to Vitor and you speak to Nuno when he was here, he hated looking out from the dugout and seeing the away fans. I know for a fact that when Nuno was here, he asked the club why we couldn't put the away fans in the Graham Hughes stand in the corner. And they went, the regulation is you got to give them a roof. So I think there's almost a sporting argument there, isn't there? That actually, as much as the away fans moan, we're giving them a bit of a better deal than we get.
Well, they only pay 30. It's capped at 30 quid, isn't it? For your away thing. Have you got any indication from the discussions of the fans advisory board? Have you talked to the Jeff and stuff about Molineux redevelopment? Have they sort of said, because we've had this discussion, when something can happen with Molineux, it seems for year after year. Is there any, because I'd love to know, I think most fans would love to go, right, there's a roadmap, there's a plan, we're going to do this, this is how it's going to be done. But it just seems to just roll into one season after the next, and we're still waiting to hear what the plan is. Have they given you any indication of a timeline at all?
No, not in terms of like dates or timelines or anything. But I think there's an acknowledgement that something needs to be done for the two reasons that we just talked about. Because we're not giving fans a great experience, particularly in the Steve Ball stand, but also we're potentially losing revenue because people aren't spending money because they can't get served. I mean, we were talking in the match day group, weren't we, about the fact that fans don't arrive till like 2 to 3, and that's always kind of been the case. But then you're losing a big opportunity there, aren't you? Because if you think about going to an away game, like if you go to Tottenham or something like that, people are in the ground from like 2 o'clock and they're spending money on beer for an hour there. Whereas our fans are going into the ground. Which is why it's
gone from £1.50 to 21 quid.
Yeah. And also some clubs open at full time, don't they? Brighton do it, for example. So they're getting 3 bites of the cherry. They're getting pre-match, half-time and post-match. Whereas we're not really getting anything pre-match because people are in the town, understandably, because it's cheaper and it's convenient. Like Josh has just said, half-time's a bit of a, shaky. You have to miss either the end of the first half or the start of the second half to get served.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing sort of post-match. They've tried opening the fan zone post-match and it didn't quite work. But I think the games they tried it, unfortunately, we lost. So I think people just wanted to get home back to the pub or whatever.
We did a lot of losing at points last year, didn't we?
We
I think the weather's not very nice as well. If it's like sunny and warm and people want a cold beer and stuff like that. Yeah. What was the other thing we were going to talk about with Molineux? We were talking about before the
music.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the Hio Silver malarkey. The fact that it's sort of something that's been talked about quite a lot at the moment in terms of like Hio Silver, we sing it, but it's not really our song because it's sang by, Villa sing it, some Sheffield Wednesday sing it. The Liquidator's never going to come back because of the swearing and stuff like that, and also because it's basically singing about them lot down the road. So like, where were we with that? What we're talking about at the moment, Jack? Like, if you're going to kick off a bit of talk about this, and people can put their thoughts in the.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be nice to kind of kick some ideas around in your chat, wouldn't it? Kind of just get a bit of a wider view. But I mean, we've talked, and again, this kind of come from Vitor almost. Really, he sort of noticed that in some games everyone just scuttles off at the end. They don't sort of stay around. I think it was Brighton we played last but one home game where they went 2-0 up on 85 minutes and the ground just emptied. And Vitor was kind of like, why does that happen? Why does that happen? And also the pre-match, like we just mentioned, a lot of people getting in at 5 to 3. And, you've been on the match day experience for a while. We've been butting heads a long time. People are creatures of habit. You know, you're not going to get people to suddenly abandon the pub at 2:30 when they know for a fact they can stay there till 2:50 and still get in for kickoff. So you're always going to have that. But we were saying, is there something we could do before the game in that 15 minutes between 2:45 and 3:00 for a 3:00 game that would get people in the ground and get people, you know, singing or chanting or whatever it is, just to kind of get a little bit of atmosphere when the players are in the tunnel or when they're walking off from doing their warm-up? Is there something that people think we could try? Because I know, and you'll back me up on this, if we come up with an idea as fans and say we'd like to try this, the club are very, very open to trying things. Is there something that people think, actually, we could try this? You know, whether it's something to do with if we all had our scarves, or if there was a particular song that they played that we could all sing, or if there was something that we could put on the screens, maybe. Just what would people think we could do between 2:45 and 3:00, for argument's sake, that would get people in that ground?
I think that's fine. Josh, have you got any thoughts on that? Whilst the team, there's a two what comes.
I know, like, some people will be dead set against it, and it's only I didn't think they did it initially. Coventry, they play a song by the Enemy because they're a local band called "We'll Live and Die," and I've said to my brother, I really wanted them to come up this season because I wanted to go there and hear him sing that at the Rico. It wasn't until the playoff semi-finals that I realised. I thought everyone knew the words, literally verse, chorus. Every person in that stand is singing it just as the players are coming out. And it wasn't until the second, because they got to the playoff final, didn't they, against Sunderland? Was it Coventry? Yeah, it was, isn't it? And when they won that second leg at the Rico, well, Coventry Building Society, because they got the big screens behind the goals and the cameras then, the fans were singing it as the players were walking around, and I saw it word for word. And I think obviously there's going to be fans that know it, but they put the words on, and I know people will be dead set against it, but it got everybody. Videos of 70, 80-year-old blokes and women.
A bit like a karaoke.
The noise it generates is awesome.
Yeah, a bit like they put the words on like it's a karaoke, so everyone knows what it is, and then that's how people learn it and stuff like that, doesn't it? So yeah, I mean, stay on after this, Josh. I'll talk to you about something, and Jack, as well. But yeah, Beverly Knight. Someone says right. Someone's saying Judas Priest, Slade, Led Zeppelin. We have enough Black Country bands. Of course, you've also got
Those Were the Days.
Days, which is very unique to Wolves, which is sung at every game. And obviously, there's scope potentially to.
I do think the music before the game does need Gene up a bit. I know you got the Led Zeppelin bit when the players come out. I think that
I like the Led Zeppelin bit.
I saw someone, it was my dad who pointed it out. Someone on Twitter put, "Oh, what's this rubbish? Robert Plant to be out in this." Robert Plant helped the bloke who was the DJ that put it together. And my dad's putting his thumb up now saying thank you for mentioning it. There was some bloke on Twitter moaning about it saying Robert Plant wouldn't like this. Robert Plant put it together with the bloke who was
instrumental in the arrangement.
Yeah. So I think that it's just the music before. Jackal and you know, Dave, Forest Away, Albion when we went there, Blackburn when we went there. The music they put on before the game, I'm sitting down there thinking they've turned it up. And it got the crowd, especially Forest. Every time we've been to Forest, the noise they generate, even before they do Mull of King Tyre, the music they've got on, you can hear the crowd bustling up for it. And we did it in the Championship. It's exactly what we did in the Championship. And then first season in the Premier League, obviously COVID it, and they changed it up a bit. I just think there needs to be a bit more of a bump for the music, a bit more lively music. And I know that'll annoy some people as well, but it works elsewhere. You see every week on the way a game when we go.
No, that's really on rocking chair, Dave. Yes. Those were the days. It does come up a lot. That does a remix version, not the. I think the way it's sang in the stands is quite fast, but I think the actual Petula Clark version is a bit slow. I think a bit of who sings it?
Mary Hopkins, is it?
Yeah, Mary Hopkins. Yeah.
I wonder if you get rid of I know you sing I.O. Silverline and that, but I reckon, do you get rid of that for Those Were the Days? Once the Led Zeppelin interlude's gone and the players are on, they've done the Premier League song, and then it breaks out into I.O. Silverlining, change it to Those Were the Days. That is our song.
Personally, I think it's more our song than I.O. Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do sing it when we go to Villa away and stuff like that, but like they sing the Aston Villa, don't they? So something that identifies with our club, that can be mixed and made a little bit more up to date could potentially have some mileage. Leave your thoughts in the comment section on this. It is the final section of the show. I promised Jack it would only be an hour. It's not an hour and a half. But we're into the Q&A section now. So someone's put here the corner shots on.
Can I just say, Ipswich away this season in that pub, the bloke who grabbed the microphone for that was brilliant. It was awesome.
How about Glenn? He can write a good song. Yeah, actually, Glenn Hughes I talk to Glenn Hughes quite a lot. Actually, yeah, we're good. Become good friends on Instagram and stuff like that. I bet he could come up with a good idea. Kiddie Wolf says, well said, Josh. Andy Pierce says those were the days. 100% interesting. Rocking Chair says those can be sung when you're winning or a losing team. Interesting. So look, it's the Q&A time. Question and answers for Josh and Jack and myself. We've got the last 10 minutes of the show. So if you've got any Q&A, anything you like, it could be, asking Jack his favourite song of all time or his favourite movie. It could be asking Josh his favourite marathon that he's ran. It could be anything at all or anything Wolves related. So just going to see if anyone can come up with any questions. If not, we'll wrap it off. Also, anyone in I'm on the TikTok. Robbie, hi Robbie. Let's just to see if you've got any questions on the TikTok as well. Luke Lewis said that. This is on the TikTok. Luke Lewis said they could offer early birds prices cheap for drinks and meal if they're in the stands earlier. Question for you guys, first of all. What Wayne Jones on TikTok wants to know, we'll go with you first on this, Josh. What's your best memory with Wolves?
It's got to be the playoff final 2003. It's got to be for me. That was pinnacle for me. How old would I have been? I'd have been 7 or 8. And I just remember it clear as day. It's the only one in our house that saw the Matt Murray penalty save. And that just lives in my head.
I love it. Jack?
Yeah, I was going to say Cardiff. The quarter final the other year against Man United stands out for me as well. That was kind of it almost felt like a rebirth of the club, didn't it? It was kind of like, you know what, we've come out of the shadows and and we're here and we're here to stay and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've had a few promotions. I quite enjoyed the League One season. I know there's an argument, we should never have gone down to League One in the first place, but actually it was a great year following us home and away.
That game, Rotherham, 6-4.
6-4, yeah.
3 pitch invasions. Think something like 4 goals in the last 7 minutes. And what a game that was. Yeah. Oh, that even in League One, there was some special time. So really good. Justin Jack says, give me a cheese and onion cob and a pint, and I'm there early, he says.
There we go.
Cheese and onion cob. There you go.
Stick a bag of pork scratchings in there as well.
And some pork scratchings. Let's just have a look. Adrian wants to know, Jack, when you're changing your wallpaper.
I don't know. It's a lot of work, isn't it?
I like your wallpaper personally.
I quite like it. That's why it's up there. But it's not for everybody.
I like it. Question for the panel. Josh first, who would you like out of the England under-21 team that won? And by the way, what a great game that was. Really enjoyed it. Beating the Germans. 2-0 up, should have been 3 or 4. They came back, winning it 3-2. Fantastic, really. Josh, who would you like?
For me, I mean, I didn't watch the game last night. I was watching Glastonbury, as poor as it's been this year, but it's the name that's been linked with us the last few weeks. And I know some people say he's got an attitude problem a bit, and his price tag is up there, to be fair. I'd take Harvey Elliott every day of the week. And I know some people aren't keen on it, but I just think he'd suit that Cunha role that we play.
Yeah, Harvey Elliott. Yeah. Jack?
Again, I didn't watch it last night. Did McAtee play, the guy from Man City?
He did. Yeah.
I think he's another one, isn't he, that will kind of suit those
he
number 10
He looks like he's 10, about 10 or 12 years old.
But I'll tell you what, he's a good player.
He's a
very good player.
He was captain. Look, I'll tell you what, Harvey Elliott is a player. He drives the ball forward. I can actually see, he's a bit Cunha-esque in how he plays. He knows where the goal is. He puts the ball away. He scored like some great goals. He scored again yesterday. He scored in the semi-final, the winner. He battles. He can run with the ball. But I think Liverpool are wanting 40 million for him.
Yeah.
But is there an opportunity to get him on loan with an option to buy potentially? Because I think he would be absolutely ideal for us personally.
I mean, I don't think 40 million sounds extortionate to me. That's
very young English player,
a decent value compared to some of the fees that get knocked around for some players. I think the centre half that's at Liverpool is going to Leverkusen for 35 million, isn't it?
Kwanzaa.
So if Kwanzaa's 35 million, Elliott's an absolute steal at 40. If you're being honest, because I don't think Kwanzaa's that great, to be honest.
No.
It's one of the, I think if Liverpool are willing to sell him, then there's probably a deal to be done. But again, we go back to what we were saying earlier. Are we his number one choice? Or does he think, actually, I could be going to a Newcastle?
Brighton are the two sniffing, aren't they?
Yeah. So, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Where, it might be that it's one that happens later on in the window when we are the front runners and he realises it's a good move for him. So we'll see.
Well, yeah. I think if we have some more signings coming as well, it shows a bit more, and there's ambition around the club. See, the thing is as well, with players coming to Wolverhampton Wanderers at this moment, it's like, okay, so Ryan Aitner left, Matheus Cunha's left, Sarabia's left, Nelson. Why is everyone leaving? But then you've got one player coming. But then if you start to see some real good, promising, quality players coming into the squad, and there's a bit of ambition here. There's something going on here. Then it becomes a more exciting prospect. So it's a good one. There's a question here from Matthew Jarman for Jack. What is your favourite Arctic Monkeys song?
I'll be intrigued to know this one.
505.
505.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
I love 505, but it's got to be Do Me a Favour. I don't think they ever released that one as a single, but as a song on the album and live, it's a really good song.
Fantastic. There is a question here from Richard Wenlock. Wants to know how Dublin was from Rich. Couple of points in his hand there.
Very Guinnessy is all I'll say. Very Guinnessy. It was good.
Very good. Rocking Chair Dave, who's one of our members. Thank you if you're a member of the channel. That really helps support us. Question for Jack. Do we need to get more British players in?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I know there's obviously restrictions, aren't there, on homegrown play? You have to have a certain amount. There's a certain amount of non-homegrown players you can have a maximum, isn't there? So it would help, wouldn't it? I mean, I think,
it's going to be tight in it because the only ones really that are going to be in that squad are Hugo Bueno.
Yeah. I think Matt Doherty's homegrown, isn't he?
Yeah, and Daniel Bentley.
Yeah, I don't think Johnson will stick around.
Andy King.
Doyle, King, yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to need 2 or 3 homegrown, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's an interest. Someone said Creswell at the back also played well. On about the under-21s. A question for Jack: do you think we can finish in the top 7 this season? Same to Josh.
I mean, we could absolutely. Whether we will or not, I think it is different, isn't it? But I mean, if you look at what Forest did last year, obviously they had a similar season to we did the previous year, didn't they? Where they just about kept their heads above water, and then they recruited really well and built around Nuno, and they went and had a blinding season last year. So, let's see. But I mean, certainly you wouldn't want to sit here and say, oh, absolutely not, because you might, well, and then back in May, we're looking and going, you see, you said we wouldn't do it. And look, we did. So, let's be ambitious and positive. But yeah, I think top 7 feels like a tall order, but there's no reason why not.
Josh?
Same as Jack. Any team can finish that top 7. They've just got to get it right. And I'd love us to. I'd love us to do it again. I'd love to go a few European games again. So I think if we can build a squad, we can. But we're just going to see how it goes over this transfer window and pre-season, and ask me again at the start of the season after 2 or 3 games in.
I have a little bit of potential interest in maybe something might happen with a bit of transfer news, so I will mention in a minute. So stay tuned for that, just from a couple of people that from someone I know who's listening to the show. Someone's Andy Pierce says the lad from Ipswich out wide's got some pace.
Hutchinson.
Yeah, the number 10, yeah.
Number
Good
10,
player.
yeah. Carl agrees that Elliot would be a good signing for us. Does anyone know who flies the flag at Glastonbury every year?
Which one? Because there's two. There's the one with the
three
wolf.
wolves.
That's the newer one out the two. The wolf
Yeah.
head one, I think. My dad may correct me in the background. The wolf head one was the original one. And I think it was one of the first flags at Glastonbury at the time. And I think he's from Bristol.
Bristol. Oh, yeah.
I think there's a guy who used to be on, I think, is it Twitter or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Glasto Wolf or something. Was that the guy, I think? Yeah.
He's from down Bristol way, I think. And they had on the Glastonbury documentary a few years ago. They had him on. And I don't think he goes no more. I think he's handed the flag down to his family and they still take it. But it was one of the original flags over the years that was at Glastonbury at the front. And literally just used it for a point of reference. So if someone went off to the loo, they knew where to get back for it.
I saw someone the other day had got the first the points, then the points, the Vitor flag. That
was going around, wasn't it? You know, what a great flag to take. I don't think there's any more questions. I'm looking over. Someone on Paul David Evans on TikTok. Jack Rowley is flying the first the points, then the points flag. This is from Robbie. And we do send our love, of course, to Robbie, as we did last week. And Paul Davis said the Victor flags as well. What do you think of the goal? You know, when we used to have a goal song, there's a question here.
Goal music.
Goal music.
As a kid, it was Palace and Norwich always played.
Tom Mark, wasn't it?
And then they bought the
and then we had the one that we copied from Espanol.
Yeah. I've got
Le Morte's yours. That's it.
That's the one. Yeah. You got VAR as well now. Imagine if you played the goal music and everyone bounced around, and then they went, "Oh, hang on, we've got to check that." You're like, "Oh, here we go."
I'm not a fan of idiots. I don't know what you got. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just like, it just makes it a bit tacky. It's like just
early 2000s vibe that is in it, really.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Josh wants to know on TikTok. We'll give this one to both of you. This will be the last question on TikTok. There might be one coming on thingy because so we can finish off. Your favourite Pereira memory so far? You've only got 6 months. And Jack as well.
Well, I think it's obvious. I think we'll probably all end up saying one. It's that comment in it. First the points, then the points.
Yeah. I think that was great. Yeah, I think the 6 wins in a row. I think winning at Old Trafford was great, wasn't it? That was it wasn't a great game, but it was a brilliant moment when that free kick went in. I quite like. This is going to sound really bizarre. His first game at Leicester, when he got his little A5 notebook and his pen, and I just thought, there's a guy who's just breathes the game. He's not got his data and his stats and all. He's just looking at what he's seen, and I just thought, there's a guy that breathes football. And I remember when we were at Leicester on that game, the pre-match warm-up, they were just defending set pieces. The entire team were just practicing defending. And
I love that. They were just practicing. Absolutely.
From minute one, he was like, right, I know how to fix this. Yeah.
I love that. That was a good. When we saw that straight away, I thought, hold on, they're actually practicing defending set pieces because we've conceded so many. Guys, it's the end of the show. Just as I say, I've had a message come through tonight from someone who's watching the show. I can't back this up too much yet. I'm just taking it on good faith. But the potentially 2 players from Valencia. That's all I'm saying. That's all I know about it at the moment.
Right, foot mob.
Let's get the squad up. Hang on.
Foot mob's loading now. Let's have a look.
That's the message that I'm getting, and it is a fairly decent source. That I'm telling you, I can't obviously name any names, but they.
I hope it's not another Guedes.
Well, I don't know, but they're very reliable. And all I can say is they've got close links to certain people. And so
I think one could be the goalkeeper.
The
Georgian goalkeeper, I think.
Yeah.
He's been linked before.
Okay.
Is he the one who's going to Liverpool? Is it Marma Dashvili?
Yeah. Is he going to Liverpool?
Yeah.
That's it.
There we go. It's like guess who this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has he got a moustache?
As I say, that's all I know. I'm just relaying it over. It's come through. I've asked permission.
They've got a couple of Portuguese players, haven't they? So
Sergio Canos, anybody who used to be at Brentford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rafa Mir, do you remember him?
Rafa Mir, bloody hell.
Yeah. They've got a Portuguese right back. There you go. There's Semedo's replacement sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've asked permission to say, so like I said, yeah. So
yeah,
as I say, I don't know any more than that in terms of names. Not giving me anything more than that, and I'm just putting it out there. But it's one to watch. That's all I can say. So let's just hear it here first. If anyone comes in from in the next week or two from Valencia, you heard it here first. Yeah, so fantastic. I do want to say, of course, as always, thank you to Creation Wolf and the people that outpower the show. And I do want to finish by saying thank you ever so much to CADDY Comps. They're the UK's biggest golf competition website. As I've talked about, you can win prizes every night from as little as 79p. Over 100 competitions per week. Already giving away over 8 million worth of prizes and 10,000 lucky winners. And headed by former Premier League footballer Jimmy Bullard. I know that Josh is going to... I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I'll have a go on there.
Just if Josh and if you both stay on just a little bit after, so I can just tell you something in private, that will be great. And guys, thank you ever so much for joining us here across all our socials. If you haven't followed us on social, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We're on TikTok, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads. Have I missed X? YouTube, obviously. We're there. So thank you for joining in the chat. We absolutely love you joining in. And Thomas Jones is asking, the question is, what do you think of the football kits? Thomas, we talked about this right at the beginning of the show. You've obviously just joined in live. Watch it on catch up. We talk about it for around about 30 minutes on the 30 minutes on the kit. So you'll be able to see that. We will be back with another two fans joining us next Sunday. But obviously do subscribe to the channel. All the latest news, views and rumours. And a little something coming soon with the kit as well. So make sure you are subscribed for that and have the bell notifications on, because you'll find it really, really useful. Until the next one, from myself, Jack and Josh, to all of you, always Wolves.
Wolves.